Welcome, welcome. All right, folks, I'm going to continue to go with this premise, and I firmly believe that the Mets are putting the fear of God into the rest of Major League Baseball. Now, hear me out. You're probably thinking, like, the Mets did really nothing this year. How could they be striking fear into the rest of Major League Baseball? Now, you know what? It's not about what you are right now. It's about what you are going to be in the future. And I am going to repeat this and I am going to continue. The Mets are going to be scary good in the future. Now let's just look at like some spring training numbers, right? And this is the first indication of how David Stearns' team is performing and has performed. Okay, right now, the Mets have played 14 games in spring training. Not a great sample size, but like I said, in the beginning of spring training, this is not a normal Mets spring training. Usually we have a bunch of older guys, a bunch of guys who have set in their position. They already know they're going to be starters. They already know what their role is on the team. No, we got a lot of young guys fighting and battling it out, and the Mets thus far are 8-6. But listen to this. Listen to this. The Mets right now have allowed the least amount of runs out of any team in the entire spring training thus far. They have only allowed, their pitchers have only allowed 41 runs. 41. I believe the next closest is 55 runs. The Astros allowed 55 runs, so that's 14 more runs the next closest. I mean, it is really kind of like insane. And I know the pitching has been the big problem and the big worry for New York Mets fans. And I get it. I understand. I'm worried about it. I think they should continue to add. But in this day and age, when you have advanced stats and ways of doing things differently. We have David Stearns, who's going to be doing things differently. We are not going to be doing things the traditional way, where the starting pitcher goes 7 innings, and now you have the relief guy. Maybe you have your 8th inning guy, and then handing off to Edwin Diaz. No, we're going to be more of a system pitching team this year. This year, until we get guys who are solid 1, 2, 3, 4 pitchers, we're going to go as a system pitchers, kind of a la the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to use numbers. We're going to determine which matchups work best in our favor, and we're going to put that in play. Thus far, we've been using that tactic in spring training, and it has been tremendous. And I got to tell you this, right? Everybody who was watching the game on Saturday when we were playing the St. Louis Cardinals, it was Sean Manaea versus Steven Matz. And basically, that's the tale of two tales. You had Sean Manaea, the pick of David Stearns, and you had essentially Steven Matz. And that was the guy the Mets were going hard after 2 years ago. We were going hard. We were so mad that Steven Matz picked another team that we essentially basically blew up a whole plan and started signing players at nauseum. Okay, you saw Steven Matz is not the type of guy that a David Stearns would go after. He doesn't have the right mentality. He's kind of like mental. He's got no control, and he's got like similar velocity, similar stuff to Sean Manaea. But then Sean Manaea, he's the perfect David Stearns guy. You know, he's as we know, he went to Driveline. He's uptick his stuff. You know, he has his fastball velocity will get a bit faster, but it's a bit more than the fastball. The guy's got a good makeup. He's got good control. You know, he's getting better. He's improving. He's on an upward trajectory. And I'm like, oh my God, like, even though it may appear that these two guys are at similar points in their career, you got a guy like Steven Matz going down, and you got Sean Manaea going up. And these are the type of players that David Stearns is going to stockpile. I'm hoping Luis Severino, same thing, upward trajectory. And thus far, he has been looking good as well. And the list really goes on and on. Adrian Hauser, he just had a good pitching performance. And I'm not saying these guys are going to be world beaters. I am not saying that. But I am saying that we have built depth here. Out of everything else we've done, we have built depth. So if Adrian Hauser, if it's not a good matchup for him, or if he's not feeling it, you bring in the next guy. Hey, you know what? If our pitching staff has been run down, hey, now you got guys in the minor league. You can come up. You could send some players down with options. He has created a roster with ultimate flexibility. We are building a team in a different way. So we have to really kind of change our mindset. It is not about having the most talented player on the field. It is about having the most talented team overall that could produce wins. These wins are not going to be beauties. They're not going to be, you're not going to be pounding the other team. A lot of times, at the end of the day, you're going to look up and we're going to win by 1 or 2 runs. They're going to be hard-fought games. We're going to be making defensive replacements. We're going to be changing pitchers. We're going to be going with matchups. It is not going to be easy sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's all about producing wins. Now, I say about MLB being scared of the Mets because I tell you what, the Mets have just started their plan. They haven't really put their plan in place. They have put their philosophy in place, but their plan has, in terms of them getting the players in the field, they haven't had the time. So, yes, they have their philosophy, but once they start executing their plan and getting the perfect players to fit their philosophy, oh my God, it will be insane. I'll tell you, it'll be insane. And then you have young up-and-coming superstars on the Mets and Francisco Alvarez. I cannot say enough good things about. I mean, you know how good offensively he's seeming to be, but defensively, he just threw out 3 guys the other day stealing. I mean, that is just an attribute that we were uncertain about. Now Francisco Alvarez is showing he could do it offensively and defensively. Oh my God, at a position that is usually known for a big zero. A lot of teams don't have good catchers. So if we could fill our catcher's slot with one of the best in the league, that is another asset that makes the Mets kind of like on that next level. Okay, all right. Now I know I'm kind of saying the Mets are, yeah, we're great. I'm saying this based more upon the future. There are many things that still need to be done, but I see a philosophy right now, and I see us executing that philosophy. Like I said, over the next year or two, once we get those correct players to fit the philosophy, then, the sky's the limit. Now, I just want to mention one more thing, and this thing is going to be what probably carries us through the next year. It's probably 6 months because it's either going to be a trade or we sign the guy. Pete Alonso. Now, there was a rumor out there, and Mike Francesa actually put out a suggestion. He goes, you got to keep Pete. You got to keep Pete. His big reasoning was he's a guy that could be ultimately successful in New York, and there's not a lot of guys who could take the pressure and perform in New York. Pete wants to be in New York. He wears his heart on his sleeve in New York. Now, he recommended, Mike Francesa recommended that we sign him to a high average annual value contract, short terms, meaning you sign him for 4 or 5 years with a crazy number. I think the exact number he goes was you pay him for a 5-year contract, $45 million a year. So that would be 90 for 2, 180. So that would be $225 million for 5 years. That was Mike Francesa's suggestion to getting a deal done. Would you do something like that? Now, we're paying him. He would be making the most out of any player, right? And we know the thing about Pete, right? He's a good home run guy, right? Doesn't have a high average, not the best defender. So $45 million, would you do it? That is the question. Me right now, I would do it as a last ditch effort. I would like to sign him. I think his market value is more around 160 to 180, especially with the Scott Boras clients not really getting what they're aiming for. But at the end of the day, if I wanted Alonso and I knew I was getting a guy like Soto, having Alonso on my team, really his value just skyrockets that much more. Plus, Alonso is a guy that you can really market for years in the future. I mean, he's going to break your home run records. He's gonna break your hit records. You know, if you win with Pete Alonso is going to be an all-time Met. So Pete Alonso means a lot more to the fan base than just really that $45 million. And so that's what I feel about Pete Alonso. So I just want to make a quick video. That's what I feel. I feel the Mets are going in a positive direction. I feel that the pitching may not be as bad as we all think because of the fact that we're going to more of a systematic approach, more of a new school mentality, analytics driven, stats based, matchup based. So it might not be as bad. I think we'll only struggle against teams like the Dodgers and the Braves. And if we're top 3, top 4 in Major League Baseball, that's a lot better than most prognosticators and most people projected the Mets would be for 2024. So that's just my quick take. Again, support the channel, like, subscribe. We got a lot of interesting baseball content to come, especially Mets centric. I will speak to you very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.